Natalie and I were saying today that we were in our hotel rooms going like, we're quite nervous before coming here. But now that I'm actually in this space, it reminds me very much of Melbourne. It's a very warm, pub-like atmosphere, shall we say. So now I'm not nervous at all. I'd like to echo Natalie's thanks to Shane and Monty and the entire ARC team, and congratulate them on their joint issue with Cordite, and also thank Colin and the Tree Reading Series for also hosting us while we're here. I too had a fantastic experience at the workshops yesterday, and I'm so glad to see some of the friends that I made there here tonight. So I'm just going to read a little selection from 3 different sort of chapters of my writing, from my first book, Certain Fathoms, a little bit from my second book, which came out in July, called Final Theory, and then a few poems that I've written since that don't have a home yet. Maybe they never will. So I'm going to read one longer poem from Certain Fathoms, and it's called Range. It's in a few parts, and I wrote this in Japan, but actually it's about an area in South Australia called the Flinders Ranges, and so this one's for Natalie, who is a resident in South Australia and has been a wonderful travelling companion. Range 1. A bird breaks itself down, ties its tune into a knot. Always begin with a bird, like ruling a line that stretches into angles, an envelope shrieking its opening and its closing. Thus begun, draw in, so near, the soft-bearing edges of green or brown will frettle under an easterly, so they will, as a bird, fold overhead, slide through marsh lines, pulling both ways into a long, unmoving spoon. 2. A bird calls, spans, slicks up. Before the air, it was hidden on a rustling explosion of leaves, and before the bird, the tree was downriver somewhere, stalking. Needle falls gave it away. But don't listen for walking saplings. It's when their dropping becomes a memory not too distant that it's heard, and all their scattered picks and knots harden into recognition. Only the wasps jammed between rock and earth are somehow a chill, clean pocket of ready thoughts, known at once. Step where the light comes again, quick. 3. Night's shadow settles in the carpet of the range, even as noon grows tight. The place is splitting. High up out of the riverbed takes a different route through its walls. There's a slip incised into the bank, a deep shelf wedged with kindle and roll, some of it bunched up to roots, some flipped. Under the rim of earth and rack, a slit cut round the sandstone skirting. No rushing cavern. The bird was landing in a puddle after all, just a deeper crevice, swallowing striped chips of shale. An opening for some kind of... Except it ducks in from the bank and turns a few metres down, back to the bed, sinking clack and drop in currents of gravel. Instead of light, there's air, getting higher, and oaks shedding themselves into dark, thrown circles. 4. And here is where the trees have found themselves. Now the trunks lie flat, thin round tracks down a sandbank. They're making water by acting it, trying to bring it about, but getting closer and closer to being salted rock, and their bark trims and rings off in trickles. 5. The thing now would be to haul a scene of water through the range, because the dim comes on first into valleys, up walls, while light's still stuck on the ceiling, because skin touches everything at once. so that a cliff is no silhouette but a single corner that turns and turns. And naturally the earth slides, or at least stars smear, describing yellow lines of crusted powder. This book, Final Theory, is a book-long poem, so I'm not going to read the whole poem, just a bit from the first section, and there's a narrative that starts to develop, which will just be left hanging in the air when I decide to stop reading. This first section was written in New Zealand, for what it's worth. It opens with a quote from the Aboriginal poet Lionel G. Fogarty from his poem Scenic Wonders. And this excerpt reads, "Ranges and countless channels uninhabited, country decades is not weird. Cones, knives, volcanoes, borning a surface external wave, rock over arid plains are not far from our base. The crashed mass, perfectly dry-aired, raised rim, made out of vanished whirling high speed, actually happens." So, Final Theory 1. Yesterday was think, to one line descends. Not quite. At dawn, the mess of trees produced stars. The radio gave thanks for another, found the week before, 300 times our sun. They said it could be heaved closer to understudy our panting source. In classrooms, children drew the procedure, colossal ropes and lake-sized mirrors. And here it is again, morning and again, forcing itself through the leaves, inhaling space. Once, during a Roy Andersson film, I saw celluloid burn that way. First, the sound departed and the room went still. Then, shimmering rocked the screen like heated oil, before a dark pupil burst the scene and grew. They kept it a surprise, popping the moon to clear the sun's path, discourage trebling oceans. After the last tide, our orbit locked back into place, we clinked glasses. The coast held together a while, the detritus of the old harbours unmoved upon floodlit earth. Underneath ongoing day, the day goes on. Trucks roam for exploration play. They rummage layers staked on time's dart like a valentine, splintering the rifts of scissored liquid. Above it all, me in your apartment, shimmying, rock steady. Sleepless pith, we wake to cars shaving the coast road. Lumpen contractions grasp the cliffs, the acid sea balloons, your earth waves bristle into a straight red streak, like distant resolutions returning sheer to the surface, magma, sponge. If there's land, it bubbles, its subtle lip, its slumping bowl. Water furies its pores. Ah, laha, whatever might has been. I ask if you remember, before our specks clumped in the sky's roaring gaps, in that other age of loneliness when we spread like rafts of seed. Just flecks of pace, pinching together, ink without words. When we started to think so much that we cooled ourselves stiff and turned to tell our twins and twins of twins, but their faces were only drafts bruised with life, cast in chill, and we turned. Edges furred, became a disc of beach hammered black and blue. Can you think a way round that orbit to when we gutter and wisp and spit? We'll drive till this land swims, you say. My camera might sink, but we'll be safe inside it, fat and rich and pink. We take the mountain road behind a dislodged crust, your first time in my car. The slopes are white and black on black. Movements worm across the tar on their chests, eyes down, we drive over them, facing the peak. The peak drags closer, crackling my radio to dust. Telegraph wires swing into gradual forgetting as I search the rear window for a final perspective. The end is only an idea, diffused into a raging sheet of light. Instead I see her, my heartless twin, a useless thing pulsing behind the paper in my hands. We close the drapes of the Summit Motel. Gold the spill of felt. I hold it, glassed, peer above the rim at you, patiently watching my chin where a droplet cruises, and gripping the carafe, at you in the mirror behind, gripping the carafe. Blood darkens, throat frills, water folding under weed, the landscape fading to its frame. Light sets leaden at the window. I breathe into the glass. You fill. Thank you. I'm just going to finish with a few poems that I printed out on my printer. And maybe I'll start with a short one. I might read this one that I read yesterday in the workshop to begin. It's called Inland. I lay my thought over the bow, mouthless, white as confidence, its spiral tipped and drawn. I will imagine you in foreign streets, not at the feet of history, but in the alley where it limps. Sometimes still you come back in drips from your shoulders, other eyes. Last light mine, I stand up in the field. Incommensurable, a Doric winter straight under my fluted brain. And this poem's called The Way You Live. The middle is low tide, I hear, a trough that rips. Blokes walk out to the middle. In the middle is the verb, flying towards stir and flocking. As you circle the middle, it tries to dip. The little car in the middle. The artist making herself from dust. I swallowed a little car once. It remains parked inside, where the lies begin. Small pyramids of salt. A glass age. Without talking about the middle, you are in it, making a case for your hands. Where running turns to walking. From down here, the middle is flat as joy, as honeycomb trodden open. They might have died in the middle. The middle has a rounded base, and in the middle are two square holes, the way back out. So I've been interested in writing kind of pseudo-riddles lately. And riddle rhymes with middle, and that is a little bit middle. Or maybe I'll read something that's less cryptic. Hopefully. This is called Dune. Sweeping the past out sounds like a gamelan. As we walk back from a party through dark whiteness, above the bay, our heads like trains, the school of village. She said, twisting oil out of the leaf, "Why do you always do this?" You trail it with you. Other paths move through its minute landscapes, more here, less there. In bed, its edges grip like eyes. An owl had flown across the mouth of a river from burning palms at dawn. I hunched beneath its gaze, concealing the rabbit. A condom packed with sand stood tight and flesh-coloured, creasing on the ledge. We dragged our bikes higher to watch it split under the tide. Slip produces a distant version of the nearby ocean. I go in, dogfish running in crowds to the shore, and I tunnel in the opposite direction, shaking through the first wave. It's remaking. Bows of the horizon, the ring of us hanging before the second wave and third. A ring loosens. We no longer see one another, dry arms on the dipping raft. Your voicemail as I come into town, your voice asking me to move south as I carry on to the lake, shin high, across its cradle of purple-orange cries. In the background, clouds ate each other. My mother demonstrating meals of beach and air, pouring. So I might finish with this one called Dreamboat, since I'm about to get on a plane. This is about a plane. Well, it's not really about a plane, but as someone said to me the other day, they said all poets should wear a t-shirt that says things are like other things. It's really good. So yeah, there's a plane, but it's not really, you know. It's not plane like. So this is called Dreamboat. 1. There we are in a big aeroplane. It's not really an aeroplane. There we are in a big aeroplane. With its lounge, it's silently snapping fire and cut glass. 2. In a dream, my sister died and I delayed grief, offering it to others first. It was politeness, and eventually I turned see-through. The next day I spoke to